Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I think I incorrectly in my last video said that was the last news section, and I was wrong. This is the last news segment. I missed it last week because I thought of the idea a day later. So the Monday segment is going to be most asked questions on Google, because aren't those fun? And we get some frequently asked questions in geology and paleontology too. I am joined by my sister, who is holding the stuffed animal. The stuffed animal is going to be asking the questions. And I will admit, most of these stuffed animals are mine. There is one that is not, though. Alright, so go ahead. One of the questions.
Who is the father of geology?
So, when we say the father of geology, we mean basically who founded the basis of how we do geology today. The man's name was James Hutton. He was a Scottish naturalist, so he wasn't actually a geologist. He lived in the 18th century, so 1726 to 1797. He was the first person to look at rock layers and say, you know, there's probably a pattern here. Basically, he went for a walk on the beach one day, saw rock layers, and some of them were like this, and some were like this, and he was like, I'm pretty sure that these ones used to look like these ones. Today, we call that stratigraphy, and it is a basis for a lot of our geologic work. In fact, I'm even working on a paper on stratigraphy because it's very important for dating things.
Next question. Who was the geologist that influenced Darwin?
It's a good one. Darwin was actually influenced by multiple scientists and multiple geologists, but the one they're probably referring to is Charles Lyell. And let me tell you, the British have no creativity because apparently everyone is named Charles. Anyway, he also happened to be another Scottish scientist, but this time he was actually a geologist, as the question implies. He was, funny enough, born the year that James Hutton died. So, James Hutton dies, Charles Lyell is born, and he continues the work that James Hutton did. Probably not from birth, but, you know, those British people are a little weird. Maybe he did. Maybe he just came out of the wound and said, rocks! We're all a little weird. He authored the well-known book Principles of Geology, which presented the idea that Earth was shaped by the same natural processes still in operation today, called uniformitarianism.
That's a big word.
Yes, it is a big word. This process shows the significance of deep time. So this is where we start getting our ideas of geologic time and how old these rocks really are. He was actually the one who split the Tertiary period into the Pliocene, Miocene, and Eocene epochs, which was highly influential. That is not how it is split now, just so we're clear. We'll get there. I'm not good with Cenozoic. Cenozoic's too early, guys. Or it's too late. It's too late, see? I'm Mesozoic. That's where I stick. That's my nice little box. Cenozoic and Paleozoic can just float away. Even though I live in the Cenozoic era. Back off. Okay. Anyway, so he got us thinking about just how old things really are. Next question. This one's not my dinosaur, but I did buy it for her.
She did. Who was a close friend of Darwin? He seems to come up a lot.
Darwin was very influential in science, and he had a lot to do with the biologic side of paleontology.
The biological side?
Yes. I said what I meant.
Okay.
Charles Lyell was a close friend of Darwin, but his closest friend was a guy by the name of Joseph Dalton Hooker. I saw that coming. Don't mind her. So Joseph was his confidant and staunchest supporter. During bouts of anxiety and depression, Darwin suffered anxiety and depression, so, if he can get through it, so can you.
can too.
Hooker uplifted Darwin and encouraged him to pursue his dreams. He was the first one to read Darwin's book, The Origins of Life. He was the one who encouraged him to publish this, to publish other papers, because Darwin didn't think he was good enough. He didn't think people would take it seriously, and Hooker was like, no, dude, put it out there. You're smart. You know what you're talking about. Do this. Great friend. Get a friend like Joseph Dalton Hooker.
Get yourself your own Hooker.
Oh my gosh. She's killing me. I'm sorry, all I can see is the very first landing more time.
Yep, yep, yep.
With the little pteranodons who were eating the cherries. And they made that noise. Anyway, sorry.
Were there any geologists who went missing?
You missed. Oh, but we'll do that one. Why not? I actually had to look this one up because I was like, missing geologists? First off, we go out and do things in remote areas all the time. So I'm like, there's gotta be. Like, I don't know why I'm surprised by this question. But the only one I could find was, there was a recent missing geologist. The man's name was Daniel Robinson. He was 24, and he's been missing for over a year. He was on a job site in Arizona. A lot of people saw him that last day, and he was doing his job. So it was really surprising when he didn't show up. The reason I was willing to answer this question is that it points out something that I think is flawed in our field. There's a lot of jobs that I have not even bothered to apply for because they want me to go alone into these remote locations. And clearly, I mean, this guy's 24. He's fit, he's young. It shouldn't be a problem for him to do these remote jobs and do the mapping and whatever else needs to be done out there. However, these remote areas also mean that you don't have communication. If you fall and get hurt, which is likely in a lot of what we do because we have to climb over rock faces, and that means sheer cliffs and the whole kit and caboodle. I've done it. It's not fun. But if you're doing this alone and you fall and get hurt and there's no way to communicate, you're a sitting duck for whatever's out there. One of the places I work is very dangerous. There are mountain lions everywhere. There's a huge herd of elk. We just recently found out that a pack of wolves moved in. This is not a place where we would want to be alone and get hurt. I don't know how often this happens in paleontology, but all the paleontology crews I worked on, they absolutely would not allow us to go anywhere alone. So, for any geology bosses out there who are listening, you need to start hiring us in at least pairs. Like,
Take a buddy.
yes.
Find your exit buddy. Do you have your exit buddy?
Yes!
Buddies. Buddy system. They always tell you buddy system. It's a Boy Scout rule. Boy Scout rule. Come on. So yeah, I would also recommend, like, no job is worth your life. So if they're asking you to go do something dangerous by yourself, don't do it. Don't do it. This guy is is a good example of why you don't want to take a job like that.
Let's get something straight, John. This is not a weekend excursion. This is a serious investigation.
What are geologists who study volcanoes called?
Vulcans. No, Vulcans are an alien race from Star Trek.
Most illogical.
But you're very, very close. They are volcanologists. Volcanoes actually get their name from god Vulcan, who is a Roman god, who I think is the equivalent of Hephaestus. Yes? Hephaestus?
Yes.
Yes.
Hephaestus is the god of forging in Greek mythology.
Yes.
He lives in a mountain and forges all of the...
So obviously exploding mountains, that's gotta be the forge, right?
No. but it is interesting.
Probably explains Vesuvius. Yes, volcanologist. I know we have Spike. I really do have the line before time here.
Yep.
Next question.
Do geologists specialize in anything? Or can geologists specialize in geology?
Yes. Can geologists specialize in geology? Yes, there are lots of specializations in geology. What I do is actually a specialization in geology. Paleontology. Now, paleontology can also be a specialization in biology depending on which way you want to go. But I like rocks a lot more than I like squishy bodily bits. So, but there are other things you can do. You can be a volcanologist, as we mentioned earlier. You can be a seismologist who studies earthquakes. You can be a sedimentologist who studies sediment, dirt, but not soil. Soil is actually totally different and not a geologic science. Don't ask me how that works. It actually falls under agriculture. You can be a snow scientist. That is a geologic specialization. And there's lots in Montana. You can be a glaciologist who studies glaciers and ice. You can be a petrologist who studies rocks on a microscopic level. You can be, I guess technically a gemologist would fall under geology. Gemologists tend to be a little more toward the commercial side of things. They're the ones who can really...
They can tell you about your engagement ring and how much you actually spent on it.
Yes. They're the ones who do all the special cuts and things like that on your gemstones. There's a lot, and in fact, in paleontology, you can even break it down even more. So I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, so I specifically work with dinosaurs and birds.
So you two dig up dinosaurs?
But you can have an invertebrate scientist who are the sad folks who work with things like corals and foraminifera. I don't find invertebrates very exciting. Trilobites are cool. I'll give them that.
What's wrong with coral?
She got eaten by a barracuda. Too soon. But you can also be a mammal paleontologist, and I have a lot of respect for them because mammals are freaking weird. Mammal skeletons suck. You could be a pollen specialist. There are people who literally do nothing but study fossilized pollen.
So you can study pollen and be considered a geologist, but you can't study soil and be a geologist?
I don't make the rules.
What?
You can also do nothing but study coprolites. So that's fossilized poop.
I'd have to see the dinosaurs dropping.
Dino. Droppings?
There are people who do nothing but study fossilized poop.
You are gonna wash your hands after this, aren't you?
You will remember to wash your hands before you eat anything.
And you know, there is a geologic or paleontologic thing for all the weirdos out there, not just me. I mean, if this one wanted to, she could study fossilized fish, and it'd be the one fish she's not allergic to.
That's what you think.
You could study Hesperornis, it's a penguin, basically. Anyway, so yes, lots of specializations. And that's the last of the questions for this little episode here. So if there's one that like sparked your interest and you really want to know more, or if there wasn't one I mentioned that maybe you've heard of, or you're wondering, is there an equivalent to this idea or whatever, feel free to ask and I will do my best to answer it. Any other questions burning on your mind?
Nope.
No, I'm just getting a dead stare, and not just from the dinosaur. With that, you guys have a good week, and I will see you tomorrow with our Trivia Tuesday. Fossilize you later!